Hi, hey, hello, and welcome to this bi-week episode of A Colts Podcast presented by Sports Illustrated and the Horseshoe Huddle. My name's Brandon. I'm joined here by your co-host, my best friend, Andrew Moore. This used to be my least favorite week of the year in regards to football season. Nowadays, given the the job we got to do, I don't mind a little break. Colts need it real bad. Looking at the injury report, like we said the other day, it doesn't really look that way that we need it real bad, but it feels like we still feel like we need it real bad. But we're going to talk about stuff anyway. Got a fun little episode for you guys, and we're going to get rolling. But first, Andrew, how are you doing, pal? What's going on? How's life?
Doing great, man. It's nice. It is nice to kind of relax, and I'm sure the Colts players and the Colts coaching staff are taking a little time off as well, kind of recharging the body, getting a little bit healthy, and getting ready for this stretch run. They got three huge opponents right after they come back from the bye, so they're going to have to be ready for that. But hey, a little break for them, a little break for us, not always a bad thing.
How many fewer articles do you get to write this week?
Well, my Wednesday one came out this morning, so hopefully everybody checked that out. Saw Carson Wentz's performance. I'll probably have one come out on Friday, and then we'll take the weekend off to recharge and then get ready for New England. Aren't you officially, according to Twitter, like a leprechaun nut hugger or something along those lines? I mean, what was said about you on the Twitter comments? That wasn't about me. That was somebody else commenting on my Wentz article, but definitely wasn't about me. But yeah, you check out my mentions. There were some spicy comments in there. So I'll leave it at that.
You know what? You remember when our YouTube comments were getting spammed for a couple episodes in a row?
Oh, that was awful.
That's what it reminded me of. A little different, obviously, but go follow us at A Colts Podcast on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. And if you already do, then maybe you submitted some questions today for our mailbag episode. Got some listener questions to go through with you guys today. Some about us, some about the Colts in general, playoff picture stuff. So that ought to soak up 25 minutes, roughly. We can make that last that long, and we'll get into some other Colts news, some big news on during this bye week anyway. Some picks for week 14, Andrew. Oh, never mind. You've got it right. Never mind. I got to read, But yeah, let's dig into these listener questions. Andrew, Facebook and Twitter. Did we get questions on both platforms here? Maybe we'll get some live questions tonight.
We got Facebook, we got Twitter, got up all the platforms. So it was nice to get. I even had some texted to me today, so we're adding those in as well.
Right.
We'll start. I'll start up with the first one here. I'll ask you. You can be the one that, since I always take the floor. It seems.
Yeah, we'll take turns on the questions.
We'll take turns, but you get to answer this one first. Which pending free agents do the Colts re-sign this offseason?
I'm gonna need a list. Give me a list here.
All right,
and I'm gonna spit yes or no. I don't have a list in front of me. I did not prepare well for this question.
Let's see here. I can start naming some off the top of my head. Eric Fisher.
No.
T.Y. Hilton.
No.
Mark Glowinski.
No. Yes. No. No.
Xavier Rhodes.
No.
Mo Alley Cox.
You know what? A couple weeks ago, I would have said absolutely not. And now all of a sudden, I'm like, I don't know. Maybe Xavier Rhodes is, kind of like Darius has had the issue, except he hasn't played as well as Darius has. Maybe he's starting to fly around a little bit better. Xavier Rhodes is a pending. Xavier Rhodes for me is a maybe.
Here's an obvious one that will be re-signed. Andrew Sendejo.
Absolutely not.
Gotta have him back.
I hope not.
All right, so I've got the list up here, and I mean, there's a lot of them because the Colts are going to have 30 guys that are on expiring contracts pretty much.
That's a lot.
So I'm not going to read them all to you.
Give me the big names. Mo Alley Cox, yes. There's the first straight yes.
There's George Odom. There's TJ
Yes.
Carey, Marlon Mack, Kamoko Toure.
No. Maybe.
Chris Reed, Tyquan Lewis. Michael Badgley, Matt Pryor.
No.
Ashton Doolin. Matthew Adams, Zaire Franklin.
Yes.
See, they've got a lot of names that you know. So do you put an over under or put a like how many you think of those 30? How many do you think the Colts retain?
I think we just racked up almost at least 15 no's. I mean, see, over under half. I'm going to go. God, but that's a lot of people to let go. There's no way we can do that either. We got to at least let 10 go. I mean, you can't let the whole football team go. But, I mean, I'd say at least 10 of those guys go probably because we're going to sign some free agents. We're going to draft some guys that are going to be on the roster because it's just what this team is able to do. We have some guys in positions where there's already young guys in place to take over. So I would say at least 10 are gone.
Okay. I'll take a stab at the list. So
some of the big ones there.
Yeah, I think T.Y. Hilton retires after the season. I just do. I've got a feeling. Mark Lewinsky, while he has been the one that's while we saw him and Chris Reed kind of go back and forth a little bit, now Mark Lewinsky has kind of retaken that starting spot. But the thing is, I don't think he's going to be very cheap. If the Colts can get him on a bargain deal, I think that the Colts would be inclined to keep Mark Lewinsky. But you can't put as much money as they already have in the offensive line, and then putting Quentin Nelson's contract on top of that. You just can't. I think Chris Reed has a better chance of being re-signed than Mark Lewinsky because he'll be cheaper, and that'll help the Colts. Xavier Rhodes, I don't think is back. I think it's time to give Isaiah Rodgers that starting role, or the Colts might draft a corner. We'll see. Maybe an outside free agent.
And keep in mind, these are not. The question wasn't who do you want to, or who do you think deserves to be re-signed?
Who do I think?
You know what I mean? But realistically, who do you think may? And that is why I said Xavier Rhodes, if he continues to play well, as it stands currently, I would say he has a chance, but it is not. I'm not going to call it a high chance yet.
Okay, so I'll rather than going through the list, I'll just give my top 3 of who I think the Colts will retain. I'm gonna go Zach Pascal because I think the Colts loves what Zach Pascal does. Yeah. I'm going to go
Ashton Doolin.
Ashton Doolin will be one because I think he'll be cheap. And I'm going to go Tyquan Lewis. I think Tyquan Lewis is back. That knee injury is bad. I think the Colts probably signed him to a 1-year prove-it deal. And then I'll do a fourth. Kamoko Toure, I do not think will be back with the Colts. I really don't. I think because I think if they bring back Tyquan Lewis, and if they bring back, they want to probably get Dio Dangbo in that starting lineup. But the guy that I was going to say is Matt Pryor, because the Colts, they've trusted Matt Pryor to come in, and we've seen Matt Pryor play well in pinches. So I think those are the guys that we could see be retained. I'm sure they'll keep more than that, but I would say those are the guys that are most likely.
I like the Pryor pick too. I think Pryor stays as well. So Andrew Sendejo is a definite yes.
God, I hope not. I hope they kick him to the curb tomorrow.
This makes me, because you mentioned Badgley technically as a free agent next year, right? Missed a kick this week. We didn't talk about this, but since we're talking about free agents and that is a point of contention right now, the second he missed that kick, I was like Colts Twitter right now. Oh, time to bring Hot Rod right back in next week.
I saw so many tweets that said that Hot Rod better have his kicking shoes ready. And
yeah.
We'll see if Badgley continues to miss. They might just bring Hot Rod back.
Have you heard any news on Hot Rod's recovery? Because I still haven't seen any official. He tore something. He strained something. Like, I don't recall seeing anything.
It wasn't official. It was just a hip injury. He didn't require surgery. Frank Reich said a couple weeks ago that Hot Rod could kick right now, but they don't need to press it. They don't need to push it because Badgley has been playing so well.
And he just has to hate that.
So, I'm sure he does, and I'm sure he's trying to get stronger behind the scenes. I'm sure he's in there rehabbing every day to try to get back, but the Colts aren't pushing it because Badgley is performing well.
Yeah. Okay. Are we done with? Are we good on the free agents question?
We're good on that one.
Anybody else have any questions about anything? First of all, second of all, any free agents you're wondering about that we didn't mention? There's 30 of them, so we didn't mention them all. If you can think of any yourself, go for it. I think Glow's probably gone too, because I do think he costs too much. I think the difference in cost between him and Chris Reed, not that Chris Reed will be the automatic guaranteed starter. Chris, right? Why are you looking at me like that?
I'm not. I'm just looking at you.
Okay. Looking at me, looking at you. I don't think Glowinski is that much better than him to justify paying a guy that much more, especially when you give a guy like Reed a whole offseason. How many Colts games, Andrew, have each one of us have we attended, and what's the furthest you've traveled to see them play? You go ahead and go first. It's much more impressive on both of those answers. Do you know how many Colts games you've been to?
I don't, not officially. I've had my season tickets for 3 years now. So over the last 3 years alone, I've been to almost 30. I'm going to say
the year before that, you went to every home game anyway.
Almost every home game. I'm going to say I've probably been to 60 to 70 games total. And the farthest I've traveled, I'm not exactly sure by miles, but I've been to Seattle. And then this year was out to San Francisco to see the Colts play.
I would guess that my over-under is somewhere in the neighborhood of 20 to 25, maybe a little bit less. Honestly, I have absolutely no idea. You've been to Seattle and San Francisco to see them play, Minnesota, Tennessee.
Mm-hmm.
I have been to the RCA Dome and Lucas Oil Stadium. I have not gone to see them play anywhere else. I've had family go see them play in Cincinnati for preseason, but I was never able to attend one of those games. Also had no interest in going to preseason game, to be 100% honest. But I was going, Paige and I were, before we decided to move back home after Seattle, we were planning our next two travel nursing locations. We were going to do either Arizona or Colorado next, but I wanted to try to time it to make sure we were in Arizona for the Christmas game. And we were going to do that for Christmas because we were going to be away from our families anyway. Seemed like a fun thing to do. You know what I mean? So that would have been really cool. I think that'd have been a really cool game to go to. Unfortunately, that didn't work out. So not very far for me, about 2 hours right down the road. See, Craig Boone, thanks for joining us. I don't know yet. That's a question. That's a question for next week. I feel like when we're doing our preview for, I'll throw it up here. Thank you, Craig. For when we are playing or doing our Pats preview. But I'm going to say Bill Belichick first, just off the top of my head. Bill Belichick is going to do his absolute best to make sure that Jonathan Taylor doesn't get to do a single thing. So Carson Wentz is going to have to play good football that day.
Yeah, so the question for the podcast listeners is, what's the best way to attack the Pats defense? And the Pats defense, I mean, they're not the best against the run. So I'm sure the Colts will try to get Jonathan Taylor running. But like you said, Bill Belichick will try to do everything he can to stop Jonathan Taylor. So
Stats Matt will tell you, though, that Bill Belichick couldn't stop Derrick Henry. So who knows? We'll see. But he has a way of doing it, and he has a way of really pissing Colts fans off too.
I think one of the things they're going to have to do is a lot of quick passes, because the Patriots are going to try to put pressure on Carson Wentz, get Matt Judon involved, and so quick passes, a lot of RPOs. I think we'll see that against the Patriots. Speaking
of Matt Judon, did you see his funny little comment in his post-game presser, or maybe it was just a presser this week? He's like, yeah, man, and by the way, the offense played great. You know, everybody but Mac, you know, he didn't really do much. That's just outrageous. Have we talked about that yet? Did we talk about that?
Not yet,
because that was a Monday night.
You're getting ahead of yourself, brother.
I couldn't remember when the game was. All right. Where are we at? Are we done with that question? We've done it all. You've traveled very far. You're up.
So the next question, if the Colts can slide into the wild card, who do they match up best and who could they realistically, like, who do they match up best with that they could realistically be playing in the playoffs?
Well, realistically, the Colts has the Steelers not had their bye yet either?
I'm pretty sure they have.
I mean, if they would have not tied a game, they'd be 7-6. We're
So
7
maybe
and
they
6.
haven't.
They still haven't had their bye week. I don't know when their bye week is, and we don't have stats, Matt. What are we going to do? If the Steelers and the Bills lose this week, both of them, we slide. Hell, I mean, the Bengals could lose this week. The Chargers could lose this week. I mean, we could just slide our happy asses right on up there in the mix.
Who do the Colts match up best with?
Well, I'm getting there. I'm just trying to look at the playoff picture in general here right now as it stands, Andrew. It also says who do you think they realistically could play? So I mean, we could be playing right now if we went in.
Could be playing literally 3/4 of the AFC.
We could play any of those top 4 teams at this point, depending on what wild card slot we get into, except for if the Patriots, if they hang on. I think the best matchup that we could actually play would be the Baltimore Ravens or the Tennessee Titans. It's really, really, really hard. And we found this out last year. The Saints handled the Buccaneers last year. Both regular season games handled their asses.
Mm-hmm.
And then couldn't win in that third game. It is really hard to beat a team 3 times in one season. It was talked about a lot last year before that Saints-Bucks game. So I think that gives us a lot of momentum against the Tennessee Titans. Derrick Henry's going to be back probably this month, I would guess, definitely by playoff time. So how well does he come back? If he does come back, what is he actually going to look like? In Baltimore, I mean, they don't look so hot right now. I wouldn't guarantee Baltimore sitting there as a division winner. But out of those teams that are up there, division winners right now, Baltimore and Tennessee, I think, are our best bets.
Yeah, and I would agree with that. I well, at least on the Tennessee front, because I think Tennessee, you're absolutely right. It's hard to beat a team 3 times in one season, and
we also haven't played good football either one of those weeks.
The Colts were very, very close to beating Tennessee the last time, and if the Carson Wentz doesn't throw those interceptions, those boneheaded plays, other things don't go that way. The Titans lose that game, and the Colts and the Titans are probably fighting for the AFC South right now. And there's still a slight chance, but I'm still thinking Tennessee's going to win it. But I'd say Tennessee, and then while Buffalo did lose, and Buffalo has to play the Buccaneers this week, they have to play New England again the week after that, or the 2 weeks after that, I should say. I think the Buffalo does not want anything to do with this Indianapolis team, because I don't think that Jonathan Taylor necessarily will do what he did in the regular season. But as you could see, they couldn't stop the running game of the Patriots either. So, I mean, you put Jonathan Taylor back. I still think Jonathan Taylor has a big game. And if not, we didn't really see what Carson Wentz could do against that Buffalo's secondary. And now that Tre'Davious White is out, their corners aren't as lethal as what they were. So I would say Tennessee and Buffalo, and then Baltimore is hurting as well. So
I just don't see how we end up playing Buffalo.
Besides the
not in the first
round Chiefs, besides the Kansas City Chiefs, I really don't think the Colts I think the Colts match up and could win any one of those games.
Yeah, I think they could win any of those games. I don't know how we end up playing. We wouldn't end up playing the Bills, but right now, Andrew, every team in the AFC is in the hunt minus 3 teams. Every single team. All the way down to the Miami Dolphins are 6-7. Broncos 6-6. Browns 6-6. Vegas 6-6. Us 7-6. Steelers 6-5-1. Bills 7-5. I mean, it is tight. No, I've been like just whacked out by this NFL season so far. Like, what is going on? And it's just nobody is consistent right now. I think the hottest team in the AFC right now is the Kansas City Chiefs. That's who scares me the most in this playoff again, of course. So, but yeah, as for teams that we could realistically play, though, Andrew, in the first round, the Bills not likely. You're liking Tennessee, Baltimore, and the Patriots.
Yeah, because I think the Colts can play with the Patriots. I think that their defense.
We're gonna find out in a week.
I think that the Colts defense can put pressure on Mac Jones, and while Mac Jones likes to dink and dunk down the field, that's what the Colts make you do. They make you dink and dunk down the field, and then force you into turnovers.
Right. What's next? What are the Colts' top 3 needs this offseason, Andrew?
I think my top need is still left tackle, because I don't think Eric Fisher's back next year. I mean, there's obviously a possibility, especially because I think Chris Ballard does have a little soft spot for Eric Fisher, especially their time together in Kansas City. But as we've seen, Eric Fisher can't really be trusted, and it might take another offseason for him to get fully healthy. But we can't necessarily bet on that, because the Colts need a left tackle now and for the future, and we can't wait on Eric Fisher as he continues to get older to see if he is that. So I think left tackle is number 1. I would say wide receiver number 2, because T.Y. Hilton probably isn't back. You can't rely on Paris Campbell. Zach Pascal may not be back, depending on how the contract situation with him plays out. So you really need that other wide receiver, a deep threat wide receiver as well, to go along with Michael Pittman Jr. and help alleviate some of the pressure that's on Jonathan Taylor and really go crazy. And then my third is probably, I'd say probably cornerback or safety, really just secondary in general, because I mean we've seen the safety depth. We've seen the safety depth really be tested this year behind Julian Blackman and Kari Willis. It's just not good. It's not. They really need to get that in there, and they really need to make sure that the safety depth is addressed. And then, are you comfortable with going with Isaiah Rodgers as that other outside corner next to Rock Ya-Sin, or do you look for another corner and you use Isaiah Rodgers more as that fourth guy that comes in and can rotate in? It's going to be interesting to see what the Colts do this offseason.
Yeah. I mean, I'm with you and Craig here. Craig says wide receiver, left tackle, corner. I was going to cheat like you did and say left tackle, wide receiver, and secondary. I was just going to cheat and lump the secondary into one. Safety, I think, would probably be our biggest need. I mean, just because of the depth, I agree with that. Corners tight too. I don't know. Secondary. And in regards to wide receiver, I would love. We have reliable guys like Zach Pascal. Ashton Doolin is turning into a reliable wide receiver. I want a playmaker. I want, and if it's a big existing name, great. If Mike Strawn just has the most incredible offseason of all time and emerges as wide receiver number 2 that just is a go-getter, awesome. But I want a name, and Michael Pittman Jr. is becoming one, but I want another weapon. I don't want another receiver. I want a weapon. All right, on to the next one. Ugh.
So it's up to me. What's the most memorable football game that we've ever attended? You go first.
It's not memorable in a good way.
Oh, really?
Do you know which one?
I don't.
RCA Dome, Colts Patriots. We're down. Patriots fans are talking shit to like me and my mom, my family. Like, I don't know why they picked us where, it wasn't, but they're just jaw jacking everybody around. Like, oh, so we're coming back. And my mom was all pissed off about it. So we're finally coming back. And she's who's talking now? Woo! Like yelling right back at these guys as we're coming back. And it's looking like we're going to win. We've got the ball on the 1 yard line, 1st and goal. I've told this story on this podcast before. 1st and goal, Edgerrin James can't punch it in. Edgerrin James can't punch it in. And I'm pretty sure, if I remember this correctly, again, Edgerrin James couldn't punch it in. I'm pretty sure we ran it 4 times in a row on the 1 yard line, and the Patriots stuffed us every time. And we lost that football game, and my mom was mortified because she was jacking right back, and it did not work out in her favor.
I'm surprised you did not pick the Peyton Manning return game.
That's a good one too. That was a good football game. I've got that ticket framed somewhere.
That's exactly why I was thinking you were going to pick that. I'd say for home games, that is my most memorable game, is Peyton Manning's return to Lucas Oil Stadium when he was with the Broncos. For away games for me, I would probably say it's down to 2. I mean, Minnesota was cool, but I was in a bomb cyclone in San Francisco, and then going to Tennessee and seeing Andrew Luck play for the last time when the Colts beat the Titans in Week 17 to go ahead and make it into the playoffs. Those are probably my 2 there. Those probably tied, but yeah, that Peyton Manning return game is something I'll never forget.
That Peyton Manning return game is a good one. But you know what? Most memorable, that was the game that popped in my head. It was miserable. You know what? It's the terrible moments in your life that really stick. Assuming Wentz plays over 75% of the offensive snaps this season, what should the Colts target in round 2 of the NFL draft?
I think you can already tell what I'm going to say, because
left tackle.
Well, no, I'm going to say Colts are always going to go best player available, so you can't really say who they're going to target. As Brandon rolls his eyes, but
you are so boring. Hey, Andrew, Andrew says, Brandon, let's do a mailbag episode. Let's do listener questions, and I'm gonna give the listeners and the question askers the middle finger and not answer their question.
You didn't let me finish, but I do think it probably will be left tackle or wide receiver, because I think that's what this offense is really missing to go to the next level, is that solid left tackle. Now, if a guy is available there, then I'm sure the Colts will take it, but like, the Colts aren't going to reach for a guy. And then wide receiver, the Colts would love to get another threat to go with Michael Pittman Jr., especially some guy, because, well, Michael Pittman does a lot of the stuff short or over the middle, and he might get some shots deep. You don't have that guy that defenses are constantly worried about is going to burn you over the top, like a Tyreek Hill or a Deshaun Jackson. The Colts are hoping that T.Y. Hilton. The Colts were hoping Paris Campbell would be that, but again, you can't trust Paris Campbell. It's third year where he's had injury issues, and you just can't. Third year is starting to become a trend. You can't trust that. So the Colts need that weapon, like you said, to really open up this offense and give Carson Wentz more options, especially down the field.
I mean, it's the same answer as you. I mean, on this one, where this question's, real close to the same. What are the needs? So obviously for our first pick of the draft, we're gonna hope, we end up going towards one of those needs that we mentioned. But who knows? I mean, Chris Ballard, don't put it past him to trade up either. He's typically going to trade down, but if he sees a guy he really, really wants, and we've got the ammo, don't put it past him to trade up either. So, even though we lose that first round pick, exactly,
Taylor.
If we lose that first round pick, which it's looking like we're gonna, I mean, that's just it. We're gonna, I mean, if we want to get back into the first round, I wouldn't be surprised if we did. I would be surprised, but I wouldn't just shit my pants.
I'd be surprised if they jumped all the way up back into the first round, but I could see them jumping up a little bit in the second round if they truly fall in love with somebody.
Right. We'd have to give up a lot to get back into the first, probably. I'll read this question, Andrew, because this is a better question for you. Does Ballard start to restructure contracts knowing that the cap is expected to explode after the 2022 season to get more room, even though he normally doesn't?
I honestly don't think he will, because there's really not too many guys that could be restructured, because the Colts always front load the contracts anyway. So there wouldn't be a need for for restructuring because most of the time when a GM restructures a contract, especially to create cap space later down the road, it's because they've got cap space now and the contracts are backloaded. Well, the Colts always front load their contracts. That's something that Chris Ballard has always done since he's been here. He gives them the money.
He could restructure and move some stuff out towards, the end of a contract for a couple of guys to make room for 2022.
I mean, he could. The Colts are expected to have $57 million in cap space this year.
Yeah.
So it's not like they're going to be hurting for cap space. But I know fans were probably wanting to see Chris Ballard go all in this offseason. And from what we've always seen, I don't think that's going to happen. He might make one splash move because the past 2 years, I mean, the splash move for DeForest Buckner and then and even Phillip Rivers, and then the splash move for Carson Wentz. Usually Chris Ballard's good for about one big move a year. So maybe it is a trade or a big signing, but it's not going to be like a free for all where he constantly is getting big guys because Quentin Nelson, you got to remember
do what the Rams are doing.
Right, exactly. And $57 million, but you got to remember, the Colts have 30 guys that are on expiring contracts. You got to fill those spots. Quentin Nelson's contract is going to be his extension will probably come this offseason, and that's going to be at minimum 17, 18 million a year. So you got to start planning for that. So I just don't think that they're going to restructure contracts necessarily. They might do it a little bit, but it's not going to be to a full extent where we're going to see huge amounts of cap space created from it.
And though that's where I think this question gets interesting, Andrew, is not necessarily restructuring, but possibly some of these extensions or some of these new deals for guys that are getting multiple years. You know what I mean? What if just the second year is a little more loaded instead of all of it way front loaded or all way back loaded? I don't know if they can structure it in a way where, year 2, 2023, maybe somebody's getting the bulk of that contract in that year to alleviate a little 2022 space. But again, what do we need that extra space for next year? As of right now, we don't know of anything. What Chris Ballard is going to do is what he believes is best for the football team, not just next year, but in the long run. He's always planning for, multiple years. He's not going anywhere anytime soon either. So he doesn't have a reason. To go, well, I got to make sure I do something this year. Now, eventually, I do think there's got to be a switch flipped that says, okay, now's the time. We got to win. Maybe we need one more guy. But until he thinks that's where we're at, which he does not think we're there yet, apparently, based on what he's done, I don't see that being an issue. So, go ahead. Last one.
The last question.
Oh, no. You can. What were you?
Well, I was going to say that I just think you're right. That Chris Ballard before the season, he said that he thinks maybe their Super Bowl window the door is opening just a crack, but it's not fully open yet. So
yeah,
and all those spots that we talked about as needs, they're pretty big needs on Super Bowl teams. You have to have a good left tackle. You have to have another weapon. You can't just have one star wide receiver. You have to have good cornerback, good secondary play in a passing league. So if the Colts can get that, then maybe you'll see Chris Ballard go all in on a big move to try to put the Colts over the top. But until they're at that point, he's still going to continue to do what he has been doing and what's been successful for him. So last question for our mailbag tonight. Do either of you believe that Carson Wentz will ever be able to take the Colts to a Super Bowl?
This isn't even a question to me. Yes. 100%. Absolutely. I am obviously excited to see how this season turns out, but there's already talk churning. I think Zach Kiefer's writing a story on this too, about how much better Carson Wentz could be in this offense in year 2. Frank Reich has not had an opportunity as the head coach to have a quarterback for year 2. I think Phillip Rivers is blowing people's minds if he's still playing with us this year. Blow our mind. I think we are baffled. Not MVP level, but I think we're baffled by how well Phillip Rivers would be playing right now in year 2. Now, Carson Wentz, much younger than a Phillip Rivers, much more mobile than a Phillip Rivers and athletic, a lot different options that we didn't have with Phillip Rivers. I think year 2 in this Colts offense with Frank Reich has the potential to be very, very, very good. And so, yes, I think he has the potential to do it this year. But I think each year in this system, as long as the team around him is supportive enough, 100%. Not even a question.
And I think that's the key. If we're thinking that Carson Wentz is going to put the team on his back and lead the Colts to a Super Bowl, then my answer would probably be no. Because
he'll never have to.
He'll never have to.
I think if Chris Ballard's, I don't know if Frank Reich gets canned ever unless Chris Ballard does as well. I think maybe Chris Ballard will get one more chance than Frank Reich eventually, probably. But I think once Frank's gone, Carson's gone anyway. But with Chris at the helm, I don't think we ever have to worry about the team around Carson totally being dog shit. Sorry to interrupt.
Right, but I'm just saying if we had to rely just on Carson Wentz, then no, because there's very little teams that can do that, rely just on a quarterback. And Carson Wentz isn't that talent. He's not a Peyton Manning. He's not an Andrew Luck. Those guys can carry those Patrick Mahomes. Look what happened to him in the Super Bowl. Even Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes has never really had to carry a team on his back. He's got Pro Bowlers and all pros all around him. So to carry a team on your back like that, you have to be an absolute generational talent. And Carson Wentz isn't. That's not bashing Carson Wentz at all. There's just not that many guys out there in the world that can do that. But with Jonathan Taylor, with Michael Pittman continuing to ascend, and if the Colts continue to build this defense, I think with a solid team around him, I absolutely think Carson Wentz can win the Colts a Super Bowl. I mean, do I think he's going to be a perennial MVP candidate every year? No. I think he'll have maybe a season here or there where we're thinking he could be an MVP. But and I am excited to see how Frank Reich is able to use him and really see how he can expand on this offense by finally having a quarterback for more than 1 year at a time. Because again, 4th year of the head coach of the Colts, his 4th different starting quarterback. So I think that's going to be a big difference next year. And I'm not saying the Colts are going to win it next year, but when you have the same quarterback in the same system for multiple years, certainly helps that offense out. And I think Carson Wentz, there's a great chance he is better next year, and we can see him play at a top 10 level as far as quarterbacks concerned, maybe borderline top 5. We'll have to see if he can reach that ceiling. But yes, I absolutely do think that Carson Wentz can be the quarterback of a Colts Super Bowl team.
Over under how many more years for Carson Wentz on this Colts team?
Man, that's a loaded question. I mean, if all goes,
where's the over under at?
If all goes well, I mean, I would. I'd probably
if
set
all
it
goes well is not involved in this question. How many more years do you think Carson Wentz is quarterback of the Colts?
I mean, I could probably put it at 6.5, 7.
That's what. So I mean, that's right in the name. So you think he maybe plays 6 to 7 more years?
I mean, if by that time,
I think Frank Reich's still coaching 6 to 7 years.
He would be 36 because he's like 29, 28 right now. So 35, 36. I mean, Frank Reich is a very athletic and very healthy looking 60-year-old. He just had a birthday. So I think Frank Reich will be able to coach at least another 6 years.
He looks so much older though than he did when he started coaching the Colts. It looks like he's gone through a presidency. I mean, just visually, he's looking rough compared to when he started. Hate those glasses, by the way. Not a big fan of the Frank Reich glasses right now. Needs a new pair. All right. Other Colts news. Bro, I am so excited about this first piece of news. I was so excited to see it in here because I literally just thought about it today or yesterday. Cornerback Kenny Moore II was selected as the Colts nominee for the 2021 Walter Payton Man of the Year Award. And you want to hear the best part, Andrew?
What's that?
I think because of Hard Knocks, I think he could win.
He very well could, and I mean he's very deserving of it too. Everything that Kenny Moore does in the community. I mean his journey and his relationship with Mason is well documented, but him still going out in the community helping. He volunteers at community centers, at food banks. He's constantly going to the children's
hospital. He's doing
hospital.
something this Friday down in Valdosta, back in his hometown.
Kenny Moore is just as elite as he is on the field. He is just as good of a human being off the field, and there's not a more well-deserving Colt on this team to be nominated for the Walter Payton Man of the Year award. I really hope he does win the award.
Yeah, 100%. I think that'd be awesome. Have the Colts ever had a Walter Payton Man of the Year? Peyton Manning never won it, did he?
Peyton Manning, but that's about it.
Did he win that before he left, though?
I'm not sure when he won it.
Yeah. Okay. Running back. I just started laughing when I saw this. I hadn't heard it yet. Running back Jonathan Taylor named the FedEx Ground Player of the Week following his performance against the Texans. 32 carries, 143 yards, 2 touchdowns. Do you think he owns part of FedEx?
I think I should just leave this part in the outline for us every week.
Just change the stats and the team.
Pretty much happens every single week. I think that's at least his 3rd time in the last 4 weeks that Taylor has won FedEx Ground Player of the Week.
It's ridiculous. It's hilarious. I love it. I don't even want to set off the applause. It's just expected now. I did fix it. Okay. I didn't think I fixed it. No, I didn't. That's why. Week 14 picks. There we go. Little production behind the scenes for you guys. First, though, Week 13 Monday Night Football in the pick'em standings. Patriots beat the Bills 14-10 in the most hilarious game of football. I didn't watch the whole thing, but I was kind of following along, and the internet was going crazy. Andrew texts me, or at halftime, I see it like Mac Jones has only thrown 1 pass in the entire first half. And I'm talking to Andrew, and he goes, I cannot believe Mac Jones has not thrown he's only thrown 1 pass, and there's less than 14 minutes left in the fourth quarter. I'm like, still? Like, I heard that stat at halftime. He still hasn't thrown a pass. Totally throws 3 passes, 2 for 3. Hilarious way to win a football game.
That just doesn't happen in today's NFL. It's absolutely absurd. And
it doesn't Bill Belichick's NFL.
I mean, it's pretty crazy. I mean, there were like 50-mile-an-hour gusting winds, but Josh Allen still continued to throw the ball. Credit the Patriots for having that absurd game plan and still going out there and winning. And the loss by the Bills really helps the Colts in the playoff picture, because now the Bills are only 1 game ahead of the Colts in the AFC, and the Colts own the tiebreaker. So if you were a Colts fan, you probably should have been rooting for the Patriots Monday night.
Do you think Josh McDaniels is just shitting himself when Bill Belichick says, like, Coach, can we throw the foot? No, run it. Yeah, I don't want to run it over 5 times tonight, Josh. What? Yeah, I don't want to run the ball. I don't want to pass the ball over 5 times tonight. 5 times tonight. Bill, what are you talking? Yeah, I don't want. We're gonna run the football. We're gonna pass less than 5 times. Okay. Hilarious.
I don't think Josh McDaniels really consults Bill Belichick on offensive game plans. But I mean, hey,
But if Bill Belichick
what was hilarious,
what we're going to do tonight, Josh McDaniels is going to listen.
What was hilarious is I heard people saying, "Oh, this is definitely going to help Josh McDaniels in his pursuit for a head coaching job." Do we still not remember how he just walked out on the Colts the day that he?
Yeah, Josh McDaniels is the next Patriots head coach.
Well, we'll see about that.
Of course, I mean that's the whole plan, right? That's why he bailed. Yeah, enough on that. Pick'em standings, Andrew. We are not tied. I thought we were tied again, but it looks like, look at that. I'm still in the lead. 118 to 75, 61%. Andrew is 116 and 77, 60%. Neither one real good, but hey, yours truly in the lead.
It was that Raiders game. I picked the Raiders, you picked the Washington football team, and that was our only difference of the week, and you got that one.
I tried to tell you. Oh boy, I got some bye weeks this week in fantasy. Hey, I went 3-0 in fantasy. People forget. Hey,
we don't care about your fantasy.
I was in last in my league for the majority of the season, and one of my leagues with you. I am 100% my family league, and I talked to my grandpa tonight. He's the number 1 seed. He's probably going to have to play me in the playoffs first. I said, he was like, "Oh yeah, I'm probably going to get matched up." I said, "I'm the scariest one to have to play in this entire league, aren't I?" He goes, "Yeah, you're not wrong there." Hey, happy birthday to my grandpa. 80 years young today. Good for him.
Good for him.
All right. Tomorrow night, snoozer of a football game. The public is on the Vikings. Steelers at Vikings. I am not. I think I'm going Steelers. Big Ben, looking good.
So I got to catch up to you somehow. I'm going Vikings. I'm going
It's just gonna
Vikings at home. I'm going Vikings at home. The Vikings are right now 3-point favorite. So we'll see what happens. Adam Thielen's out, but the Steelers, I think, may try to, or probably still coming down from that emotional win over the Baltimore Ravens. I'm going to go Vikings.
Dalvin Cook, questionable still, right?
Correct.
All right, go Steelers. I mean, go Vikings, but if the Steelers win, Ravens at Browns.
I'm going to go Ravens on this one. I'm going against the public. I think the Ravens, while their defense again is still hurt, the Browns haven't looked very good, and Baker Mayfield is still pretty injured. So I'm going
the mute button.
I'm going with the Ravens.
I'm also going Ravens. I don't know if Baker's healthy or not, but I don't think the Ravens play like they did another week, in a row. I really don't think that's going to happen. Yeah, we do need the Vikings to win, Craig. Jaguars at Titans. I have a feeling. I don't think it'll happen, but I got a feeling. I'm going Titans, but I feel like the Jags. This feels like one of those games that they just piss you off. If you're the team they're playing, and just beat you for no reason.
That sure would be nice if Jacksonville could go into Tennessee and get the victory. But yeah, I'm going with the Titans. Titans are coming off of a bye week. Think they're going to be rested, and Jacksonville's Jacksonville. What can you say?
Raiders at Chiefs.
Going Chiefs on this one. The Raiders are, again, they just lost to the Washington football team, and the Chiefs have been playing some good football lately. So I think they're going to drop another one to the Chiefs this week.
Yeah, 100% Chiefs. Sorry. Saints at Jets. Sounds like Alvin Kamara is healthy. I'm going Saints.
I'm going Saints as well. I mean, the Jets are the Jets. They have been very good all year. So I've got some. Well, even though Taysom Hill is still the quarterback, if Alvin Kamara is healthy, they'll be feeding him the rock plenty.
Cowboys at Washington football team.
This one's tough because the Washington football team's been playing a lot better, and Dallas hasn't been. But I'm still leaning Dallas, just because I don't think that the Washington secondary can keep up with a CeeDee Lamb and an Amari Cooper.
Well, that's fun because I'm going Washington football team.
You're all on the Washington bandwagon.
I told you, I don't know if I'm on the Cowboys one anymore. You know what? I know we've been alternating, but you're going first on this one because I got to laugh. It's always more fun when you pick Falcons games first.
Well, I'm not picking the Falcons. I'm going the Panthers. Panthers are still a dumpster fire, but I'm not picking the Falcons.
I am picking the Falcons at Carolina.
Prepare to lose. Falcons prepare to lose. The Falcons suck.
But when you pick against them and I pick them, they usually win. So that's going to work out in my favor. This next game should be a lock. I'm going with the spread in this game too. I think Seahawks at Texans.
Yeah, I'm going Seahawks here. The Texans showed me last week how terrible of a football team they are, and Russ in Seattle finally got a win, even though all the drama going on there. I think they have plenty of talent to beat the Texans.
Yeah, Seahawks for sure. Lions at Broncos. I'm with the Broncos and the public.
Yeah, I'm going Broncos as well. Lions got their first win, but that's where it's going to stop. Broncos will get this one.
Yeah. Giants at Chargers. This feels like one that not the Giants typically would win. This feels like one that the Chargers typically drop. They're so up and down. You know what I mean? And coming off a big win, I'm worried about the maturity of that football team and their ability to maintain composure against a team that they should beat. But I think they'll end up getting that win.
I think the Chargers will win as well, especially since I don't think Daniel Jones will be out there. It's just the Chargers are up and down. You are right, but the Giants are a pretty bad football team right now.
Still good run defense.
Not bad.
49ers at Bengals, Andrew.
I'm going 49ers on this one. The Bengals have the public, but I'm going 49ers. I'm not sure if Debo returns this week, but I think that injury to
They
Joe
said
Burrow's
they're hoping he returns to practice tomorrow.
I think that injury to Joe Burrow's pinky, I mean, he wasn't good once that happened, and I think that's really going to affect him again this week. That's not something that just goes away, especially on your throwing hand. So I'm going to go 49ers to pull off the upset.
I'm going Bengals. I'm going Bengals.
And you need some caffeine in your system.
I got 4 hours of sleep. We went out and celebrated the end of my busy season at work. We celebrated our volleyball loss in the tournament. And then Paige, of course, gets off work at 11:30 and decides to also come to the bar when I wanted to go home an hour before that. So we were out late. And I am tired. Got about 4 hours of sleep and then had to go get a fake tooth. So, yep. Sorry for the yawning. Sorry for the fans. Bengals. Bills at Buccaneers. I am definitely going Bucks.
I'm on the Bucks train as well. The Bills, I've just lost faith in them. I've seen what kind of team they are. They can't stop the run, and I think the Buccaneers will take advantage of that with Leonard Fournette.
And Packers are hosting the Bears. I'm going go Pack go.
I'm going with the Packers as well. Justin Fields is back. He is going to start. But again, I mean, the Packers against the Bears, Aaron Rodgers owns the Bears. I don't think it's going to be a close game. I think they win by a couple touchdowns.
I agree. Rams at Arizona. Rams need to win this football game, but I don't think they do. Cardinals are rolling.
I'm going Cardinals as well. I mean, Kyler Murray and DeAndre Hopkins are back, and that just completely changes this offense and completely changes this team. And the Rams, it seems like the Rams beat up on the bad teams, but against the good teams, they're not nearly as good. So I'm gonna go with the Cardinals.
We don't need to do the points and all that. Who's scoring the most points?
I was actually thinking about that. Kind of want to go with either the Buccaneers or the Saints against the Jets. I'm gonna go Bucks.
I'm gonna go Arizona most points.
Okay.
Just feels right. Detroit least points.
I'm gonna go Texans least points.
That's a good pick too. All right, what do we got next?
News around the league.
All right. Any good news? Report. Seahawks quarterback Russell Wilson would be willing to waive his no trade clause for the Broncos, Giants, or Saints. Broncos would be awesome.
Broncos are
any of those teams would be awesome. Actually,
Broncos are a quarterback away from, I think, being a contender in the AFC because they've got a good defense. They've got weapons on the outside.
Very good.
Teddy Bridgewater and Drew Lock are just terrible. So I think he'd do well there. I think he wants to go to the Giants because it's in New York. Obviously, he's married to Sierra. It's a big market. And then the Saints. Imagine Russell Wilson being paired with an offensive mind like Sean Payton and Alvin Kamara. And then if Michael Thomas comes back, that'd be a pretty potent offense down there.
Michael Thomas would come back for some Russell Wilson, I think.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, real quick, too, before we go any farther, what games are you looking forward to watching the most this week since no Colts game to watch?
I mean, obviously the Buccaneers and Bills. I want to watch that. 49ers, Bengals. I'll really be watching the games that affect the Colts in the playoff standing. So those games, obviously the game tomorrow night with the Steelers. I want to watch the Chiefs, Raiders, all of those games that really will have a major impact. Because the Colts might be able to sneak in and be a playoff team or be in a playoff position without them even taking a snap this weekend, depending on how the results go.
Yeah. Seahawks safety Jamal Adams suffers a torn labrum and additional shoulder damage that will require surgery and place him out for the rest of the season. Tough.
Seahawks not looking like they won that trade. Gave up a lot for Jamal Adams, and he has not been very impressive. Or actually, he's been a good player, but he's not lived up to the trade value that they had to give up for him.
Buccaneers designate cornerback Richard Sherman to return from IR, possibly moving him to safety. Interesting.
Yeah, I think that's because he is. I mean, he's
Slow.
He's slowing down. So you move him to safety, put it back there with Antoine Winfield. It could be good for him. So we'll see. The Buccaneers definitely are struggling a little bit back there, but I think Richard Sherman will help give him a little bit of a boost at least.
Yes. Texans waive linebacker Zach Cunningham 1 year after he signed to a 4-year, $58 million extension. Please explain this.
So Zach Cunningham, I mean, he was one of the best linebackers for the Texans. He was a healthy scratch last week due to disciplinary reasons, but for everybody around the league says he's a great guy. He was a captain for the Texans, and then after this big extension, all of a sudden he just gets cut out of nowhere. So Zach Cunningham's a pretty good linebacker. He has been with the Texans for a couple of years now, or a few years, I should say. And if a playoff caliber team needs some linebacker help, they could look to Zach Cunningham.
All right. That's it. Mailbag episode complete. Colts bye week episode complete. We appreciate everybody who submitted questions. We appreciate you for watching. We appreciate you for listening. Thanks for sending out some comments and questions there, Mr. Craig Boone, especially. New listener, maybe. I don't know if you're new. Welcome. Thanks for joining us. Any new listeners, thanks for joining us. We hope to keep you around more often. And don't forget to go follow us on all of our social media at A Colts Podcast on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Go rest up, heal up those injuries, and have a good week, guys. Go Colts.
No episode on Sunday. We'll see you next Wednesday for the Pats preview. Go Colts.
Go Colts. First time listener, Craig Boone. Woo!
Let this moment become a cherished memory. And then remember, a legacy is only worthwhile when there is a future to fuel. God bless you, and God bless football.